Hello, hello. It works. How you guys doing today? Come on, wake up, people. How you doing back there? Hello.
It is afternoon.
Is it? This is our second stop point. No, a third stop.
All right, we appreciate you guys inviting us here today. It's always fun coming on the Caravan, and this is my first time on this leg of the Caravan. I'm Jeff Pecoro. He's Jim Day. We're with Fox Sports. Of course, you've seen us on Reds Live, pre, post, during the game, all that kind of good stuff. And we have some great people here with us today. First off, we'll go with the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, getting ready to start his second season at the helm, Brian Price. Also from the player development side of things, and this is a tough job. He oversees everything going on in the minor league camp. The director of player development, Mr. Jeff Guapi. One of the young guns I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about. He played at Stanford last year, his first in the Reds organization. 22 years old, I should say. He's an infielder, plays shortstop. From Stanford, as I said, Alex Blandino. And finally, a guy that really came into his own last year after giving the opportunity to catch every single day. He blossomed into the player a lot of people thought he could be, the all-star catcher for the Cincinnati Reds, Devin Mesoraco. Now, Jim is going to say a few things about what the tour is about and what's going on. I'm going to come down in the audience after, and then we're going to do a little question and answer. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll come to you, and then we'll ask the question, okay?
The Reds Caravan has been going on for a long time, and it's really one of the cool things I think the Reds do in the offseason. There are other teams that do it, but there's no one that does it like the Cincinnati Reds. Some call it kind of a relic that the Reds are still doing this, but there's nothing better than going out in Reds country and seeing faces that we wouldn't normally see, and especially come to the radio affiliates around Reds country because, as we know, Reds radio has really been one of the backbones of the organization with Marty and Joe, and now Marty still in the booth. So we really, really appreciate being here, and we love to get to some of the smaller markets. It's a lot of fun for us. A couple of things I want to talk about this season that you guys might not know. I know that being from Cambridge, if you're going to make the trip to Cincinnati, you certainly want to do it on a day that's special. A lot of people like to go on giveaway days. Well, every Saturday home game this year, there will be a giveaway of some type, whether it be a bobblehead. There are 9 bobblehead days this year. Frazier, Bench, Hamilton, Phillips, Mesoraco, the Nasty Boys with a triple bobblehead nights and more. Every Friday night are fireworks, which are a great night to come to the ballpark if you want to come for a whole weekend. And Family Sundays are back as well, where there's kids giveaways and exclusive ticket offers just for the family. So we would love to see you guys at Great American Ballpark. The All-Star Game is in Cincinnati this year, which is a major event, big-time event. You can become a season ticket holder, or even a partial season ticket holder, and have a chance to buy All-Star tickets. Get that question a lot. The best way to do it is to become either a season ticket holder, or you can be a partial season ticket holder, even just 10 games attending that way. So those are just some things, some bullet points that we'd like to get across to you, because we would love, our number one choice, obviously, is to come to the ballpark. Number 2, turn on the TV. We'd like that as well. You guys want to do the Q&A now? Is that what let's do the Q&A. Any question you got for any of these guys up here, lay it on us. I know, especially some of you kids out there, know you got to have some questions.
This goes directly to Brian. Will Votto play this year and will be healthy all year?
I can't answer the question about his health for the entire season. we're talking about it a little bit on the bus on the drive over, in the sense that what's different for Joey, finished the season on the disabled list, missed about 100 games, is the fact that his off season is spent doing rehab to get back to where he's able to play, as opposed to the other players that finish the year healthy that are doing rest, strengthening, and baseball activity. I don't think necessarily that you'll see him at his very best on the first day against Cleveland. By the time we get to opening day, I think you'll see the same Joey Votto that we've seen in years past, the productive Gold Glove caliber first baseman.
Just raise your hand. Anyone?
Yeah, this is for Devin. The spike in batting average numbers and everything last year, you think that was due to just being another year more comfortable in the league, or is there something you changed in technique or anything in the offseason that you think helped you, in your averages and things last year?
Yeah, I would say both. In the off season, I was in contact with Don Long, our hitting coach, and we kind of developed a plan of where we wanted to go with my swing as far as mechanics and everything like that. And I think that definitely helped for sure. But also, it being my third year and my first season where I was starting the majority of the games, there was definitely a lot higher of a comfort level that also helped. So I would think it was a combination of those two things, but definitely got to give some of the credit to Don, who really identified what some of the problems were and really put me on the right track.
Anybody?
This is for Devin also. I'm sure everybody here probably wants to know, what's it like to catch Chapman?
I get that one a lot. And he is Chapman's very special. He's unlike a lot of us baseball players. I mean, for the most part, we're just normal guys. He's like a Ferrari. He's just an unbelievable athlete, I think, first and foremost. But to catch him, it's not as hard as what you would think, just because his ball is very straight, and when he does miss, it's mostly up, and those are really the easiest ones to catch. So he makes me look good back there and makes the innings nice and quick, which I do like.
Next. Yes.
Brian, middle relievers. What are we going to? How you see us middle relief this year?
Well, we're going to have some new faces, some familiar faces in the bullpen. We have not addressed our bullpen the same way that we addressed left field and with the trades we made with Miami and Detroit. We got some young players. We got a kid at Disclafani that we think might be able to go into our rotation right away and be a nice young pitcher for us. We have some limitations with what we're able to do. I mean, when we earmarked a left fielder as a priority, we've got Marlon Byrd. But where we may find that we have to really fall back on players that have been in those roles in the past is in the bullpen. And as much as we didn't get the same performance that we were used to in 2012 and 2013, I don't think there's any reason to feel like we can't recover and come back and have great years from J.J. Hoover and Sam LeCure and get Manny Parra back to being healthy and a lot more capable than he was last year. And to me, the key, we got Rizal Iglesias, who's a Cuban kid that we signed that we think might be able to impact us in the bullpen, and we've signed a host of other 6-year free agents. But if we have Sean Marshall in our bullpen and he's healthy and throwing the way that he can, we've gone the last 2 years really without him in 13 or 14, being banged up with his shoulder. He had the surgery. If we have him in our bullpen, he can pitch the 8th inning regardless if it's a left-handed or right-handed lineup and get us to Chapman and bridge that gap. If not, then we have to be pretty optimistic that our guys will bounce back. I'm confident that they will.
Jeff, I know that some people ask about the starting rotation. There's a couple of obviously holes in there, But for some of the younger guys that people are wondering about, guys like a Stevenson and maybe a Lorenzen and some guys like, can you talk about some of those guys that may be on the fringe or we might possibly see this year, September or next year?
Yeah, I mean, we're really optimistic about a wave of talented, young, mostly right-handed pitchers coming. At AA, AAA, we've had Robert Stevenson, who's hard-throwing. It's been up to 100 miles an hour. He's been at AA. Michael Lorenzen was in Major League Camp and made a favorable impression last year. Him and Jonathan Moscott will probably be close at AAA. And then last year's first-rounder, Nick Howard, is another guy that we think will be right in there competing. We've discussed the best way to break them in. But I think this is a nice wave of kind of quality starting pitching. It's been a nice group that's coming up together, and I think will help fill some of these spots in the next year or two.
Brian, how hard was it to part with Ben Lively, a guy a lot of people thought that possibly this year could be in the plans?
Yeah, he's a right-hander that had a tremendous year. He got off to a great start. I think he started out 10-1 in the California League in high A ball, went to AA and pitched very well. Anytime you get a player like Marlon Byrd, who's a guy that can step right in and be a productive big league player, you're going to have to give up quality, and we certainly did that in Ben's case. That being said, we felt organizationally, as far as our prospects go, we were heavy on right-handed pitching, especially right-handed starting pitching. And with the list of guys that Jeff mentioned, plus a slew of kids that pitched in Dayton last year, I mean, almost everybody in that rotation's a quality prospect pitcher. You are going to see a wave of pitching, I believe, in the next 2 to 3 years, similar to what we saw in 2010 when Travis Wood and Mike Leake and those younger guys came up and did a great job for us. So we're all excited about the probability of really having great pitching here for at least another, potentially another decade.
Guys? Anyone?
Other than playing at Great American Ballpark, of course, what would be your favorite stadium to visit or your favorite opponent to play against?
Is this for Alex?
It's for anybody.
I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area in California, so I think it'd be nice to play at AT&T. I would like to play at Great American Ballpark. Actually, I've only been there once, so hopefully play a few games there.
What about you, Dev?
Me, I like to play at PNC Park. It's a very aesthetically pleasing stadium, and my grandparents live about an hour away, and they're fairly old, so they don't get to come too many places. So that's a very fun trip for me.
Plus, he always plays well there in front of his family.
Where was your favorite place to play for anybody up there?
Brian, what's your favorite place to visit?
Since I don't get to play, unfortunately, or actually it's a good fortune of the Reds I don't get to play. I like Alex, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's always nice to go home. But one of the parks that I always loved going to when I was in the American League as a pitching coach was going to Kansas City. And at the time, they were a terrible major league organization. They were never competitive. So there's always about 10,000 people in the stands, but it was a beautiful stadium. They've done some upgrades and made some changes. I'm really looking forward to seeing that and seeing the big fountain in the outfield.
Yep.
What's it like to play in front of thousands of people? This one's for Devin.
What's it like to play in front of thousands of people? To be honest, you don't really notice. I think for the most part, you're just kind of focused on doing your job. Now, say come playoff time or whenever the stadium's packed, you really do notice that, and it gives you a couple more juices going in there, if you know what I mean. But it's a lot of fun. I think as many fans as we can get to come out, it definitely helps with the support.
Brian, what advice do you have for these young boys that would love to play for the Reds, that dream of playing for the Reds or the Indians?
Well, probably. Are these your sons here?
One's my son.
Okay. Well, I would say that that maybe by the time you guys are ready to play, that'll be the total free agency for high school and college players, and so you'll be able to choose where you go. But if that doesn't change, and it probably won't, it would be a lot of good fortune to play for the Reds and get drafted by the Reds. I would say that kind of the stepping stone into professional baseball is having all of your ducks in a row, because it's so easy as a young person to set your sights on what you want to do and then let everything else kind of fall by the wayside. We had a discussion that last stop about the importance of education, and it's going to sound like a parent, but I am a parent. And the importance is creating as many opportunities as you can, and that means enjoy playing while you're playing and understand that another vehicle to a chance to play professional baseball is that chance to go to college, because a lot of the best players are coming out of college these days too. So play it because you love it. If you don't love going to practice, you're probably not going to be a great player. You keep that in mind. You got to make practice fun too, and be a great teammate.
Alex, you being on the precipice of becoming a major leaguer, what has it been like, the transition from college ball now into minor league ball and getting a chance to go to major league camp and things like that?
It's been fun. It's been a dream come true. I think from when I was a young kid, I knew that I wanted to play baseball for a living, and I chose to go to college and get my education. And I improved a lot in college. I'm thankful I took that road and did that. And now that I'm a prospect with the Reds, I'm just building upon what I learned in college. And the professional game is definitely a little bit different than the college game. Obviously, the bats are different, and just the speed of the game is a little faster. Just making adjustments every day and improving on that.
Jeff, we've heard a couple people talk about, and Brian has talked about this, the difference between a high school player and a college player. In our scouting, before we go into drafts, how do you weigh that, and how do you try to pick between, do you try to have a balance in the draft or what?
Yeah, I think a balance is key, just because the high school player, maybe a little more raw and talented. The college player is a little more seasoned. Has experiences they can fall back on. But I think with either one, it's important to get to know what drives each player. If you look at Devin and you look at Alex, these are guys who are driven to be as good as they could possibly be. And just jumping on what Brian said, the mental makeup and doing everything you can to be good at whatever you're doing is just such an important factor, and it carries true into professional baseball, where you may be extremely talented, but if you don't want to be as good as you can be, it's just not that useful for us. So I think just doing your homework on both high school and college is important.
Brian, as a former pitcher in college and into the pro ranks and a pitching coach, what's the biggest difference you see from a kid that's drafted out of high school and a kid pitcher that's drafted out of college?
Well, you know what? Sometimes there's very little difference, and other times there's great difference. So much of what you see with pitchers is how mature they are as a person, and that to me is the biggest difference. And alluding to what Jeff said, is that it really is such a difficult game to play. And yet a lot of the kids that we're signing, be it Alex or be it Devin out of high school and Alex out of college, is that you don't know where their maturity level is. And we're fortunate we got two very mature young people. But you have to be able to understand what's ahead of you. The game is so difficult to play well at this level of play that when a guy like, we talked about J.J. Hoover a little bit earlier, when a guy struggles like that, you have to understand that the game is hard to play physically and mentally, and guys are going to have tough seasons. So I would say that from a college perspective, the one thing that you get is you get guys that have played more against older players, freshmen against senior. That competition, I think, brings out a lot of good things in a young player, playing with more on the line, playing with some media in attendance. Things of that nature, I think, help develop and prepare you for professional baseball.
Yes, sir.
This question is kind of for everybody. Last year, when I was watching the games, there seemed to be a lot of talk about the pace of baseball and people talking about the need to speed up the game and the reasons that were cited. I like baseball the way it is. I like the pace of it. Radio, TV, it all works for me, so I'm not really on that side of the argument, but I was wondering what any of you thought about it, and do you see anything actually coming out of the argument? I know there's been a few rules they're trying and things, but is this something that's going to be a growing issue going forward that everybody's going to have to contend with?
Well, I'm probably the worst guy to ask because I tend to give long answers, and this could be a real long answer. I'm not going to do that. I do think there has to be some sort of a driving force, and I do believe that there's certain demographics or whatever that don't connect with baseball to the same degree that others do, and they're trying to appease that demographic of people that want more regular stimuli. We don't want the long inning breaks and so on and so forth. Well, the long inning breaks are here, and they're driven by the media and the price of sponsorships and things of that nature. I love the game the way it is myself. I really do, and I embrace it. But not everyone's a baseball purist and wants to grind out every single pitch one after the other. So they're implementing some time clocks in some of the minor league levels next year, and I believe that will be a test market to see if that's something they would add at the major league level. So it may be here soon.
Yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I'll do whatever they say. However they tell me to play, I'll go out there and play. So if they put a timing on things, don't let you get out of the box, that won't affect me. I think I'll just stay focused on what I can control, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just jumping on what Brian said with things that have been put in place. In the Arizona Fall League this last year, they had a pitch clock that I think there was varying opinions on. I don't think we've decided on a perfect implementation for how to do it. I think it's going to be tough to tell pitchers and hitters which pitch is about to be important because any individual pitch can swing a game, and that's one of the beauties, I think, of our game. But as Brian said, I think there are things coming that they're going to continue to test out, and Alex will get to be the guinea pig for the next generation of players.
I guess this one's for Brian. The division looks like it's going to be really tough this year. Can you talk a little bit about what the challenges are going to be like in that division?
Yeah, I think we know what's ahead of us because of just with the way we finished last year and the way that the other clubs, in particular the Cubs, they're getting most of the conversation time with the addition of Joe Madden and the first baseman saying that they were going to win the division. And of course we all fall back on the fact that you got to play the 162 before you find out who the winner is of the division, and that's what it's going to come down to. Last year we got kind of beat over the head with some injuries that I think I don't know if we would have won the division if we would have stayed healthy or not. We would have won more than 76 ball games. I think we would have been in that race longer, at least at a minimum. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if these guys at the Cubs or the Cardinals or the Pirates or Brewers are going to play to the level. No one plays their best season year after year after year. It just doesn't happen. Someone's going to be a disappointment in the division. Someone's going to have a better year than they thought they were going to have. And so it'll be real interesting to see how it unfolds because we will be ranked 4th or 5th in our division in most publications, is my guess, to come in 4th or 5th or last in our division. I would say optimistically, I don't see any chance that is going to happen if we stay healthy. I do think that we have an outstanding ball club and we're going to compete. But what I say doesn't matter either because we have to play the 162.
This one's for Devin. What's it like coming straight out of high school to play in the major league?
Whenever you do get drafted, you go into the minor leagues, and it's a very eye-opening experience. We were talking on the bus. I was in the Gulf Coast League at 19, right after I was drafted, and in the Gulf Coast League is in Florida. It's 100 degrees down there, and I'm from Pennsylvania, catching, but we're catching it like noon games, and before all that, we're practicing on the backfields and getting worn out, blocking balls, doing all kinds of stuff. So it was definitely an eye-opener because, you expect, I'll get drafted, go play a couple games, get to the big leagues, and do well. But it's definitely nothing like that. It's a lot of hard work, long hours, a lot of nights where you were like, man, this is a lot different than I expected.
Still have time for a couple more questions. You'll be next.
This is for Devin. What does it feel like when you hit a home run? What do you think when you're running the bases?
Yeah, for the most part, whenever you hit a home run, you know you got it. So it's definitely a good feeling around the bases. It's all right, I hit a home run. Way to go. something like that. I don't know. But, you know, the times you can always see whenever somebody isn't quite sure if they got it, and they're kind of tiptoeing and running, and then you get to about first base, and you're trying to hit first base and see if it actually went out. Those ones are a little bit more interesting. Those ones you start to think and get going, go, something like that.
Then he's always worried what he's going to have to say to me or Jim after the game.
Is it tough memorizing all the different pitchers' pitches?
You know, not really. Just as much as we work together, it's just kind of second nature, really. Now, whenever the pitchers do come in, say somebody gets called up that I haven't caught before, we'll go over scouting reports and I'll watch them on their minor league video or things like that, or just make sure that I talk to them a little bit to get a little bit familiar with them before they get in the game. But that's part of my job, so I have to do a little bit of studying to be prepared for when those guys do come in.
Devin, do you call the entire game? And when you look over to the bench, is that when you look at Brian for signs and stuff, those are for things like pick-off plays, throw over, stuff like that, correct?
Right. The entire game is you know, the pitcher and the catcher kind of go over what they want to do, and it's all I put down the signs, and they can obviously shake yes or shake no, depending on the guy. Some guys will shake more no's than others. But, yeah, what Brian does is he'll just give me the signs for the running game. Throw over to first base for a pickoff, pitch out, slide step, things like that. He doesn't give any, you know, hey, throw a curveball here or anything like that. No, none of that.
Anybody else? All right, we'll do this guy right here. Hold on one second. Two more, then we'll sign autographs.
This is to Devin. Who do you like catching the most, or you have a favorite pitcher you like to catch?
Yeah, I would say that's Mike Leake. He, you know, he's a guy that can do a lot of different things out on the mound. Very athletic guy, fields his position well, can throw just about anything in any situation, and he's a very competitive guy. I'm not sure that you would get that from Mike from talking to him, but he really wants to win and wants to do well, and you know, he's tough sometimes. Me and him, we get into it a little bit, but we're good friends. But, you know, we'll get into it every now and then when he's like, well, what the heck was that? And but I think it just shows how much he really wants to be successful for himself and for the team.
This is for Alex. Is it hard, like, for the big boys like Prince Fielder and Mark Teixeira, is it hard memorizing, like, where you have to shift and stuff for shifts?
I think you go over all kinds of scouting reports before you play, you know, a series against the team, and that's something that all players do before you face an opponent. You kind of know. It also depends on the pitcher, so I mean, it depends on matchups. But yeah, you go through all those scouting reports before you play, and luckily you have a little time in between series to kind of get your head on straight and know what you have to do. So.
All right, guys, awesome questions. A couple more announcements before we do the autographs. We have a Cincinnati Reds ticket representative that is on the trip. If any of you would like to look up dates, look up season ticket packages, etc., answer any questions about the season, the stadium, we have a ticket representative back there. And also our, raising her hand right here. Is it Ashley, right? Ashley is right back there to answer all your questions. And the Caravan is once again sponsored by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network, and this would be a great tool for people that are not in the Cincinnati area. If you go on to CincinnatiUSA.com, there are all kinds of deals as far as hotels, things to do in Cincinnati. They're saying is come for the Reds, stay for the fun. I believe that's right. So it's really good tool, particularly for people that are not in the Cincinnati area. If you want to come and make a week of it, a weekend of it, it's a terrific, and you can get half-price tickets on there. There's all kinds of deals on CincinnatiUSA.com, so I invite you to check that out as well. And thank you, Heather Kessler, for being here, for sponsoring the Reds Caravan once again. So I guess however you want to do autographs, you guys can just... Corey, you want to run the autographs? No, all you have to, we're very informal here. You guys, yeah, just step right on up and come on through the line, and these guys will sign anything you want. Well, not anything. Close.
Give the line right down here. Give the line right down here. No. Really? I didn't hear you stand. I suppose you were good. Is that you? Regular camera. No, you won't take that. Extreme close up. There you are. There you have it. Yeah, they do.